and welcome back. Yes, this is the main paint stage. Now, first of all, it is doing, well, what I can do of the inner canopy. I didn't have actually the proper interior colour, so I've just simply gone with XF5, which is a flat green. It will give the impression of the actual framing from the inside once the actual main kit is complete. So with the main airframe itself, I went for, what standard is for the FAA, is the Sky Type S for the underneath. Again, this was done with thin coats just to build it up and just to try and make some sort of like, let's say distortion of the paint. Thicker in areas, thinner in others. But all that will sort of like be, I would say all of it will be changed, but there'll be some sort of like remnants of it once the weathering is complete. So with that, it is thin coats and away you go. Now I wanted to darken some areas of the underside, and thanks to Rob, because I am colourblind, gave me sort of like a mixture that I could use, which was the Sky Type S and a teeny tiny little bit of, I believe, Field Green, which is CO59, which is from the Attacker range. Now I went to sort of like little panels, and I thought, right, let's see, you know, the fabric covered part. So I did that slightly darker, and it sort of escalated, I think that's the best word I can say. So I went around most of the panels and did sort of like some streaking effects along the actual leading edge of the wings. So with that done, it was really into the main sort of like cam stage on the top side. Now I will leave you with some tunes, and what I'm doing is I'm basically using the dark slate grey with the dark sea grey. So that is the base coat really completed. It's as I want it. Not particularly sort of like well sort of like done, I suppose, in demarcation and paint wise, but that's exactly what I'm after. Because when you looked at period pictures of this said aircraft, and even towards the Seafire and the Hellcats that we used in this particular theatre, the paint was extremely distorted, but also there was a distinct lack of chipping as well. But it was all really sort of like faded paint, worn paint, and just general sort of like really bad discoloration of the whole thing. And this is basically what leads on to the next stage is paint distortion. So what is paint distortion? Right, I'm going to show you now. So using MIG Ammo's heavy chipping medium, it's basically you spray it all over. You can put it as thick or as thin as you like. It all depends on how much paint you really want to take off. Me personally, I want to take quite a lot off. Now, the first bit was that, yeah, I used the yellow green, and I'll be using those. However, I'm thinking, hang on a minute, what am I doing wrong here? But anyway, I carried on. I'm thinking, yeah, this is going well. So yeah, let's just crack on. So I did. So the yellow green was going down in sort of like more of the areas where the crew would actually be. You know, getting in and out of the aircraft, maintaining, sort of like taking the cowling off and all them little bits. So I thought, right, okay, I'll do that. Bish bash bosh, how's your father? You know, Bobby's your fanny's aunt. And then I went on with some water. So all you're doing is putting some warm water, and it is just slightly tepid warm water. And as you can see almost straight away that the chipping medium underneath the paint is reacting to the paint almost straight away. So give it a few seconds, let it sort of like soak in, and then what you can do is you can come in with a paintbrush, whether it's hard, soft, medium, or whatever tickles your plums, okay? And basically you're going to distort the paint. Now, what I normally do is go from leading edge to the trailing edge of the wing. And as you can see, it's looking more of a chipped, worn effect. Although the yellow-green does look quite prominent, when you get the other colours on, it does dull it down, so it's not all in your face. Now, to get the water off, you can either leave it to air dry, or what I normally do is I go around with a cotton bud and take off the excess water. But that also does take away some of the paint, which is a good thing actually, because it sort of like pushes it down onto the surface. And once it's dry, it does actually look, I would say, more effective. So by doing that, rather than just letting it air dry, you are hopefully going to get a good result. And with that, I think, yeah, that's not a bad result. I'm happy with that. However, I did think to myself, yeah, this is all well and good, but what have you forgot to do, Lenny? Let's see. Yes, put the decals on, you plank. Right, now the decals are on, now we can actually go and do the actual main paint distortion. Please now. So what it is I've gone around again with the chipping medium, and I'm basically going to be putting on different sort of like shades of green and grey, darker, lighter, just to basically distort it. But first, I went with XF63, which is the German grey. Believe it or not, I went over the green and the grey with this, just to give that sort of like distorted sort of like feel to it. But also with the darker stuff on the green, what I was trying to simulate is to having, you know, it's the grime of the oil or the cordite, guns being changed, the crew crawling all over it and all that type of stuff. And that's the effect that, well, that's the story behind it. So with this, you can either use, like I'm using there, a slightly smaller brush. Now with that, you could get a lot more finer detail, so you got more control. However, I wanted multi-layered, so I've gone with the actual main brush bit, or the bigger one, and gone from there. Now remember, when you're actually doing this, when you're putting the water on and using the brush, you're using minimal pressure on that brush. If you put some proper pressure on, you are just going to take it completely off, and you're more than likely to take more off than you want. So it is just a case of just letting the weight of the brush do its work. So I will leave you with that. So it was a case of rinse and repeat many times. How many times, Lenny? Well, as many times as you want. It's entirely up to yourself. There was about 5 or 6 different layers of paint that went on. And surprisingly, I didn't actually put a clear coat on any of them. I just let it to dry and just carried on. And the stuff that I had put on previous was still there. So yeah, I was happy with that. So you have got a rather distorted, mucky and rather distorted paint job, which is exactly what I'm after. So basically it's a case of you can go as far or as, well, not so far as you want. It is entirely up to you. But it does give you, I think personally, a good way of actually distorting your paint and making it look effective. So, until the next time, cheerio.